Hi, and welcome to Biztech's Inside Trading Show. This is a show that's all about trading. Every week, we discuss what trading is all about and what are the required habits of a successful trader. Now, we also share trading ideas and themes to help you make money. As always, with me is my co host, Phan Vee Leung. He's the founder and CIO of the Track Record Academy. V, welcome to the show.
Hey Brian, it's good to be back. Let's talk about trading.
Now, first of all, before that, V, I've got to say that, there's a lot of worries and concerns around markets today. But then again, I think you've got a quote that to set the tone in a very different way.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand some of the truisms of trading, and one of them is that a bull market climbs a wall of worry. I think it's a common misconception that of a retail trader, especially of a hobbyist, right? That they think that for conditions for market to rise, for a bull market to form, conditions have to be perfect. You need to have the stars aligned. You need to have the economy chugging along. You need to have money flowing everywhere. You need to have optimism, right? Unfortunately, that's of course not the case, right? If that was the case, then trading would be really easy, right? Everybody has the views aligned. Who who doesn't want to buy when it's going up, right? So in
Yes.
fact, bull markets are formed when there's massive walls of worry to be concerned about, and a bull market begins when it starts to climb the wall of worry, despite all the prevailing pessimism and negativity, right, and all the bad news.
Okay,
So
V, I want you
yeah,
to give us some examples then of this.
yeah, okay, cool. So an example of this, I think what's been flying under the radar this year is that we came into the year with a lot of bad news in the crypto sector. We had FTX, one of the biggest exchanges in the crypto exchanges in the world, run by SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, right? Sam Bankman-Fried, right? And
Yeah.
he's famous, right? He was almost a cult personality. Regulators spoke to him. The whole sector looked up to him. But in it turned out he was a fraud, and it's the FTX failed in November, and the cryptocurrency sector was essentially crushed. Right, you saw a massive washed out across the board. Coins were sold, exchanges fell, crypto asset management uh, firms closed. And then Binance, one of the biggest exchange in the world, got hit in June as well. The US SEC went after Binance and sued the founder CZ for uh, various claims of money laundering, contravening the securities law. And the bad news came relentlessly. They had to cut staff, litigation cost was high. We saw various countries coming after Binance as well, Belgium and several other countries in Europe. We saw the SEC seeking an order to freeze Binance assets in the US. And Coinbase, a US-based exchange, was not spared as well. It was listed last year, and so it was relentless. All this bad news. It was a wall of worry that seems insurmountable, and we had negative price action. Or at least that's what most uh, retail traders, or at least those that are not really watching the markets, feel, right. That crypto as an asset class is diminishing in stature, and is something that's becoming more of a fringe again. And however, uh, from the middle of this month, we saw traditional finance firms, the giants of traditional finance firms, coming into crypto. We had BlackRock uh, filing for a Bitcoin ETF. We had Deutsche Bank applying for digital asset license in Germany. We also have Valkyrie joining the fray as after the BlackRock announcements, a few other firms joined the fray to start their own Bitcoin ETF as well. And there was even an exchange, crypto exchange, backed by Citadel Securities, Fidelity, and Charles Schwab, starting operations uh, earlier this month as well.
So here's the thing, V. These are, as you said, these are the bellwether names, the blue chip names of traditional finance. and basically it's essentially them anointing uh, cryptocurrencies, probably the main two cryptos in particular, Bitcoin and Ethereum, as a legitimate asset class if they've got ETFs following it.
Yes, and you're absolutely right on this front, right? Because these are household names launching ETF exchange traded funds. Is likely to draw in passive capital from the retail investors, right? It's deemed to be it's basically a stamp of approval from the giants of traditional finance. And if given a choice, most uh, savers who invest, they will at least want to have a few percentage of their net wealth in crypto as an asset class, right? As an alternative asset class. And for them, the difficulty was that they couldn't find a legitimate way to get involved without having to subject themselves to possibility of fraud, possibility of hacking, possibility of scams, right? And that's the problem with a emerging asset class, right? It's always difficult to get involved, and a launch of an ETF by a legitimate traditional finance firm that has a ready made platform, a ready team of sales and credibility of a track record that is verified for their other asset
I
classes.
mean, this is going to be a global thing, isn't it? Because essentially, with the names like BlackRock and Deutsche Bank, you've got global distribution. This is not US only or country specific. This is global distribution, and
Yes,
distribution not only through traditional sources but also through third parties as well, through third party funds, third party platforms, and so forth.
correct. Yeah, you're absolutely right on this front. Uh, um, this is not just, I mean, this is not just an average dude launching, filing for an ETF, right? These are
Yeah.
well established names which have success in all other asset classes that are considered legitimate asset classes. And for them to uh, dive into this, to join the fray at this moment when uncertainty is so high, when the regulators are cracking down on even the biggest of exchanges in the world, I think this is a stamp of approval that this is a legitimate asset class that can be a store of wealth, not just a store of wealth, but also a, an asset class that can help you grow your wealth.
Okay, so I want to stop you here, V, but because this is all now what we're predicating then is a contingent upon the SEC approving all of these ETFs. That's one thing. Now, the moment that happens, then, however, logic will then assume that there will be demand for these assets as basically investors start pouring into the ETFs.
Yes, you're absolutely correct, right? So it is of course contingent upon approval of their applications, but of course, as we know, I mean, these are not mom and pop shops trying to get into the ETF space, right? These are well established players. They have long term relationships with regulators and all. So I'm sure they have crossed their T's and dot their I's, and they are well aware of the chances that they can get approvals. So even if they don't get immediate approval, I think it's just going to be opening they're going to have they will have initiated conversations that will go on for some time till they finally get approval. I think it's just a matter of when, not if, given that we have seen these very connected firms, very well established firms taking a step at this. And more
And
importantly though, we did
yeah,
have
go on.
the Federal Reserve Chairperson Jerome Powell testify before the Congress last week, and of course, the much of the press focused on his views on how many interest rates hikes there are going to be, what are their thoughts on inflation, and all the other, of course, all the other much debated topics about the monetary policy path going forward. But what was under the radar was that he did say that Bitcoin has shown itself as an asset class with staying power.
And that's a very strong statement. And it's funny that this is the first time that actually I've seen in any media anyone talking about this.
Right. So I guess it's important to listen to your show, right? Because
Yes, we're bringing up things that people don't really bring up. The Warren Buffett trade was one of the things that we brought up in a previous show very much earlier on. And if you recall, V, late last week or early this week or over the weekend, Chamet Palpatia talked about the trade that Warren Buffett made and all the various income streams that he got about it. That's something that we talked about 2 months ago, I think, 1.5
yes,
months ago.
yes, and actually to that point, it is something that we should revisit in an episode going for episode in the future as well. I think Warren Buffett has been adding to his positions in the firms that he invested in Japan, right? So we have Japan, the Nikkei continuing to power ahead since the episode we talked about Japanese stocks as an asset class, and also Warren Buffett has continued to add to his positions. And if I'm correct, he says he would add it up to 9.9% of the total market capitalization of the firms that he's invested in so far. So that I think is a huge endorsement from one of the greatest investors of our time. But
So to sum up, V, finally, in terms of our show, back to your quotation.
okay, back to let's back to the point of cryptos. Power has spoken, and the other thing that's pretty much flown under the radar as well is the performance of Bitcoin this year, right? So in June alone, it was up 13%. Of course, we are still sometime in June, so we will not know but as of the recording time, is up slightly more than 13%. And what would be a surprise is that since the start of the year, which is just a month and a half after we started the year at a peak pessimism because of the FTX failure, all the other firms that were brought down by the FTX failure. So since the start of the year, we have seen Bitcoin rise more than 85%, right? And this is in an environment of rising interest rates, a lot of pessimism on various fronts, recession risk, recession talk, the war that goes on without seeming to have an end in sight. But we have seen Bitcoin weather the storm, and Bitcoin is climbing the wall of worry. And I believe it is setting the stage for next year, where we will see what is termed of as a halving event in Bitcoin, and that's something that we can talk about too in one of the episodes in the future as well.
And so we see the tea leaves and all the stars aligning around potentially, as you said, amidst all the worry, perhaps a big rally coming up. V, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ryan. See you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Now, we've been speaking to Phan Vee Leung. He's the founder and CIO of Track Record Trading Academy on Biztech's Inside Training Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. Check out our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites for Biztech's Inside Trading Show.